Tell one of our volunteers when you call in and make that contribution that you'd like the Wait Don't Tell Me mug, and it's a $120 contribution. We'd love to hear your comments as well, or if you'd rather prefer to remain anonymous, you can too. But we do want to hear from you, so please give us a call at 800-552-8502. Do you realize it costs about $108 an hour to keep Red River Radio on the air? Did you know that, Father Pike?
I did not know that.
Yeah, $108 on average. On average, that's about the cost. I think $108 or $110 or $120 will pay for 1 hour of morning edition news on Red River Radio, roughly that
And
amount.
what percentage comes from donations like we're trying to
65 cents of every dollar that comes to Red River Radio comes from listeners. 65% of our funding comes from listeners.
So you can see how important you are, listener.
yeah, and then there's about another 20% that comes from underwriters, businesses that we read out during our breaks.
Another private source.
Yeah, and only 15% roughly thereabouts comes from community service grants from the Corporation of Public Broadcasting. The thing is, that's not free money. Those grants are we have to apply for those grants. We have to show that we have support from the community to show us as a viable, much desired and needed service in our area. So the only way that those grants get triggered is when they see the response from our listener base and our underwriters. So now is the time to show your response. 800-552-8502. That's the number to call. And we'd love to hear from you. We've got some great volunteers. I think we had some master gardeners from Northwest Louisiana. Master gardeners were in the volunteer room earlier, and I don't know if they're still there. They change out all the time, but I'd just like to shout out to them and say thank you for volunteering today. They'd probably rather be out working in the garden because it's so pretty today. But Father Pike, before we get back into performance today, what are some parting thoughts that you could share about public radio and the need to support it?
Well, I just think it's such a well-rounded curriculum, so to speak, all the different offerings all week. For me, I love the classical music, which I've always loved, but equally, I love the news programming. And as I like to say, and have said for years, it's the length of the pieces that you get on public radio. But it's not just this little snippet, but it's something that you can really sink your teeth into when there's a program, whether it's on Morning Edition or on All Things Considered or any of the other shows. And of course, if you have HD, you can get an entire news station and an entire classical music on another one. So there's all sorts of things that this community does. And as a member of the advisory board, I mean, I've watched things go on more closely in the last few years, and I'm just more and more excited about the opportunities we have. After all, we're serving a huge area.
The second largest geographic area in the United States of any NPR public radio affiliate in the country. The second largest, and I would be willing to bet that could get even bigger at some point. So we will be talking more about that as the days and weeks go along. But right now, how about you? If you're listening to public radio, ask yourself, how many times a week do you tune in? And try to consider that this is not a free service. You've come to rely on us, and we've been around for more than 30 years thanks to listeners who call in and make a contribution. But don't be left out. Be one of the folks who are what we would like to consider as the vital few, the folks who stand up and support their community by supporting public media like Red River Radio.
Join us now.
800-552-8502. We appreciate you listening, and thank you so much for your support.